I love this topic today, and it's really near and dear to my heart. So I'm really, really excited to teach it to you today and talk with you about it today because it affects so many of us. This fear of this imposter syndrome, this kind of fear of waiting to be found out. And how I describe imposter syndrome is just really feeling like at any moment, the jig is going to be up and people are going to know that you're not qualified. You're actually incompetent. You really don't know what the hell you're doing, and you're not good enough, and you don't belong where you are. And at any minute, people are going to find out. No, now here's the crazy thing. You feel this way despite mountains of evidence to the contrary. You actually are amazing and do get really great results in your life and in your work. But the challenge is that you just feel like at any minute people are going to figure you out. So as you can imagine, this kind of fear of waiting to be found out, or feeling like an imposter, like you're not qualified, can produce a lot of anxiety, and it can produce a lot of sadness too. You can feel depressed, you can feel anxious, and really it would do everybody a lot of good for you to get to the bottom of it and figure out kind of how it shows up for you, where it came from, and how to fix it once and for all so that you can really live a life of authentic, genuine happiness. It affects everybody, people that are struggling and people that are super, super successful. Nobody is really kind of left out when it comes to this imposter syndrome, but there are people, and you might be one of them, you might find out today, that are actually more highly likely to suffer from imposter syndrome, and kind of your lifetime has created the perfect storm for you, and kind of the alchemy has been perfect to create this feeling for you in your own life. And so I don't want you to second guess yourself anymore. I don't want you to live when this shadow of doubt, this feeling like you really aren't good enough, and everybody else is going to find out too. I mean, that's really a terrible way to live, and you don't deserve that. You deserve better than that. So that's my intention to help you with this today. If I can say one thing today that'll shift your perspective or change your mind about something, then my time will be very well spent with you today. So I just want you to take a minute and meditate on what you want to take away from today before we even get started. What do you want to learn today? What do you want to hear, know, or understand that if you could know or understand that, it would change your life in a really positive, significant way? If you want to put that in the comments, what you want to hear today, what you want to learn today, then please share. If not, if you don't know what you want to learn, then great, right? Then you're more open and you can maybe hear something you really didn't even realize. So how can this show up? Well, let's talk about just in work. I work with a lot of really successful people, right? They've managed to really hit a level in their lives of success, but they might be in this wonderful position and they might be doing these wonderful things in their life, but suddenly they look around and they think, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not qualified to do what I do. Maybe they've struggled their whole lives and worked their whole lives to get into this position. Like they went through a lot of schooling or worked their way up in a company, but they always feel like at any minute they're just going to get fired. Like their boss is going to come to them one day and go, well, Joan, turns out you were full of shit and didn't know what you were doing all these 20 years. Time for you to go. But that's the irrational fear. Another way it shows up is maybe you have a dream in your heart. A lot of the people that I work with want to start their own businesses. They want to become life coaches and they want to give back, but they feel like they're not going to be ready to do that until they get one more certification. Maybe they just need to go back to school and get enough kind of letters behind their names, and then somebody will give them a permission slip to do what they want to do, and they'll be like, okay, Serena, now you are officially qualified to do that thing you want to do. Ding. And they go, yeah, now I can live my dreams because somebody else has told me I can. Serena, I'm just saying you because you're on here, but really it could happen with any one of us, right? Where we feel like if somebody else deems me capable, then I'll be capable enough if I have so-and-so's seal of approval. And there aren't enough certifications in the world to make you feel qualified if you suffer from this problem. There aren't enough classes or webinars that you can attend. And really, you're never going to be qualified enough if that's a challenge for you. So it can show up in that way. It can also show up in your relationships where you might constantly question if the person you're with actually really loves you. If they really know the real you, if they really know what up with you or knew something from your past. A lot of people that I serve have a lot of challenging, troubled childhoods or troubled past. And they feel like if anybody really knew what was up with me or really knew what I was like behind closed doors, they'd run for the hills. And so you wait for that. At any minute, you're going to be disappointed. And when people figure out who you really are, they're going to abandon you or reject you. And imposter syndrome manifests in all of those different ways. What is at the root of it? What's at the core of that imposter syndrome? At the core of it is really a self-esteem issue, right? It's a worthiness issue. And so I'm going to really explain this in such a simple way today that you can see yourself in my spectrum that I'm going to talk about. And that's really what I want to do with you. So let's talk about that for a few minutes, okay? The spectrum of this imposter syndrome or fear of being found out runs on the same low self-esteem spectrum or troubled self-esteem spectrum. And one side of the spectrum, you have the victim mentality. A lot of people live over here like, well, bad things always happen to me and nobody gives me a break and it's everybody else's fault and everybody else's responsibility. I mean, I see my value, but nobody else believes in me, right? We project our low self-esteem onto it's other people holding us down and keeping us down, and that's why we can't get ahead in life, right? So why bother, because I'm just a victim and nothing good ever happens. On the other side of that low self-esteem spectrum, you have a narcissist. Same problem, totally different manifestation. And the narcissistic manifestation is, there's a denial of any self-esteem issues or problems. It's a grandiosity thing. Over here, it's an inferiority, and over here, it's a grandiosity where I'm like, I don't have any problems at all, and I project all my problems still onto you, but I pretend you're the one with the faults and not me. Narcissism and victimhood are the same side, same spectrum of low self-esteem. It just manifested differently. Now, you might not be manifesting on either side of those spectrums. Maybe you manifest somewhere in the middle. And these are what I call attachment personality patterns, meaning when you grew up, you learned how to do love, how to get love, and how to be in love or have love or how to do love. And you didn't have a good role model, likely, so you adapted one of these personality patterns in order to cope or survive or thrive. And so one of them, if you had this imposter syndrome that people are going to find out who I really am, and I can't have that happen because they'll reject or abandon me, you become a people pleaser. And in that manifestation, you aim to do what everybody else wants you to do, right? Your desires and goals are on the back burner, and you're really good at anticipating other people's needs. You know, people pleasers and caretaking and that kind of behavior where you just want to make sure that everybody else, if you take care of everybody else's needs, even if they find out who you really are, it won't matter because you vested so much of yourself in helping other people that now you're becoming invaluable to them, right? So as long as you keep giving to them and pleasing them, it won't matter who you really are because it's not about you, right? What comes along with that people pleasing for many people is feeling completely overwhelmed, feeling resentful that here I am, or here you are, making sure everybody else's needs are taken care of, but who's there for you? You look around and nobody's really anticipating your needs quite like you do everybody else's. Another way that low self-esteem manifests is as perfectionism. You don't want to do anything unless you absolutely know you'll do perfect at it. Maybe you want to try a new business or a new venture or something outside of your comfort zone, but boy, you don't want to risk being called out, right? Not knowing what you're doing. But here's the newsflash. When you start something new, you never know what you're doing. You always kind of look like an idiot at first, right? When you're trying things on, but you don't want to risk doing that. You're already afraid you're not good enough. Heaven forbid you actually don't know what you're talking about, and you put that out there too, right? So perfectionism, people pleasing, pretending is another low self-esteem manifestation where you pretend not to have any problems, or you pretend that you're fine because, again, you just want to keep up the show, right? The appearance that everything looks good on the outside, and really it can look good on the outside. I work with a lot of people from the outside looking in, look like everything pretty much is going okay, but they're falling apart behind the scenes, right? Can you imagine how much anxiety that produces, constantly feeling like you're pretending in your own life? You do, because if it's you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're like, yeah, I'm just like, suck it up, just like power through, keep trucking on no matter what at the cost of everything. Can you relate to what I'm saying? Where do you feel like you've been on that spectrum? How does your fear being found out manifest for you? Now here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. You're qualified and you should be where you want to be, right? Because God, look, if you have a desire to do anything in the world, God never puts that desire in your heart unless you have everything within you that you need to accomplish that, right? Like, I remember when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a psychologist, right? From the time an actress or a psychologist, I wanted to be, or a lawyer. Yeah, a lawyer, a psychologist, an actress. That was pretty much it. But I had a desire in my heart from a very early age to want to help people, to be an intuitive and know kind of what's going on with people and be able to put the pieces of puzzles together. But I could always just kind of do that. That was always there. But I could have every, certification in the world. I could spend as much time as I can at school. But if I don't actually just go, okay, here's me, let me put myself out there, let me actually like do the thing. There's no other way to really get over that fear of like feeling like you don't really know what you're doing unless you actually pull the trigger. But somebody who's paralyzed with perfectionism or people pleasing or pretending won't dare put yourself out there. So really the price you pay is like this idle dream in your heart. This like, then you think instead of what you want to do, you think, what can I do? Where do I feel safe? What's the safer thing for me to do? What's the sure bet? Instead of really going after the real thing that you really want because your self-esteem is not permitting you. I have to tell you, the only reason that you don't have that thing that you want, that you really, really want, is your inability to believe in yourself to have it. And we underestimate that. We're like, yeah, just believe in myself. But it's like this, like, where did this belief come from, right? We're in a society, like a life coach society right now, that wants to like slap a Band-Aid on a flesh wound and like pump you up and give you a meme and shit to like go live your life and go after your dreams. You know how ridiculous that sounds? Like that you're just going to like watch a motivational video on YouTube. That's what they count on. Like people count on you just like getting motivated and you're going to watch a video and go, yeah, I'm going to go for it. Fuck that, But how quickly do you lose your motivation? As soon as that imposter syndrome creeps back in, you go, yeah, but they can do it, but I can't do it because I'm not qualified, or I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm not as good as that other person. And you start comparing and all these other things that lead to you really being paralyzed, and you do absolutely nothing, including settling. You're in a relationship, you feel like you deserve better than that. But again, you're like, well, who do I think I'm kidding? Who am I kidding? This might be as good as it gets for me. And you start believing those lies. Now, here's my theory. There's not a lot of research on this to back me up, because I don't think a lot of people research this particular population. It happens to be my area of expertise, is adult children of alcoholics, abuse, or dysfunction. So if you grew up in an environment where you had an alcoholic or addicted parent, imposter syndrome is a very common thing for you. Why? Because when you were growing up, you were a step away from being found out. You might have gone to school and projected like this perfect kind of like environment, but at home, mom or dad were a hot mess. You never knew what you were walking into, and you were afraid that any minute the jig was going to be up, right? Maybe if you were abused or you had a dysfunctional family where you were verbally kind of berated and people told you weren't good enough, you might know on the inside that you had a calling on your heart that you were good enough, but you still hear your mother's voice in the back of your mind. You still hear your father saying you should do something safer. Who do you think you are to pull off that goal? And so if you don't really get at the root of all that, you'll continue to buy into that. You need a safe place. You need to actually heal from that programming, so to speak. People pleasers is a program you've been running out of necessity. When you were a kid, that's how you kept it calm, likely. That's how you kept the peace in your house, likely. If you were a caretaker, you had to, right? Mom was passed out or dad was out to lunch or whatever the hell was going on in your family, and you had to figure it out. You had to piece it together, and it served you a purpose. You got a lot of your self-esteem and value by taking care of other people and anticipating the needs. But the problem with that is at the end of the day, you don't know who the hell you are. If you strip away taking care of everybody else and worrying about everybody else, it's like you're left going, who the hell am I? You are a chameleon in your own life because you're always who everybody else needs you to be instead of who you really are. And that's why you feel like a freaking imposter. Okay? It's partly true. All right. Even though you are better than you think you are, you feel like an imposter because you're not being who you really are. You're being who people need you to be instead. And that leads to repressed rage, repressed resentment, repressed anxiety, repressed depression. And then you go victim or fuck it all. I'm not even going to try anymore. Right. You just give up or whatever. So what's the treatment for that? Well, look, our society, our life coach society, our put a band-aid on a flesh wound wants you to just kind of like, pick yourself by your bootstraps and just kind of fake it till you make it. And that doesn't freaking work at the end of the day. Okay. You can faith it till you make it. You can have faith that after the work, on the other side of all the work, but faking it till you make it's what you've been doing your whole entire life. Aren't you tired of faking it? That's what leads to imposter syndrome. Fake it till you make it. Screw that. Why fake it anymore? Why not be authentic and genuine in your own feelings in your own life and speak your real truth? Say how you really do feel. Stop pretending all the time that you're okay when you're not okay. Stop worrying about everybody else and you're last on the list, right? So how do you do that? Well, look, if you had cancer and you went to the doctor, and he would say, okay, let's diagnose the problem. Would you go in thinking you had cancer? You wouldn't. You would go in with the presenting issue, right? Like you would go into the doctor because you had a cough, all right? Maybe a prolonged cough if it was lung cancer, heaven forbid, something like that. So my clients don't come to me with these root issues. Like they're not coming in going, yeah, these are my core. Some of them are the really insightful ones, but most people come in like, I'm in a relationship. The presenting cough is I'm in a relationship with an addict or an alcoholic. I'm in a relationship with a narcissist. I'm in a relationship with somebody who doesn't meet my needs. I'm a giver and I attract takers. I want to pull the trigger on my dreams, but I don't have the confidence to go after what I really want. I want to start that thing, but I don't know where to start. I can't get over, I don't have enough, whatever it is to achieve it. So it manifests like a cough, like relationship issues or challenges leaving something, or I can't leave that thing I'm in. But that's not the issue. That's the cough, right? So any good surgeon, when you come in, is going to say, okay, let's diagnose the problem. Now, and you could talk about it. You could say, all right, let's talk about the problem. That's good. That's what therapy would be, right? Like you go into therapy and you say, well, you're going to get some insight into your problems, right? Well, yes, I have this mother wound, or I have this, and you talk about it. But I'm like a psychological surgeon, okay? I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach, I'm a consultant. So as a psychological surgeon, I'm going to go the whole way for you and see your whole treatment, okay? You're going to come in to see me. We're going to first diagnose. We're not going to go with the presenting issue. We're going to see what's underneath, and then everything. I'm drinking too much is a presenting issue. I'm shopping too much. I'm full of anxiety. These are all presenting issues. We're going to get at the root, and we're going to uncover it. And I'm going to do, as a psychological surgeon, I value accuracy, precision, and results, effectiveness. I want to know that whatever treatment plan we devise around your particular challenges is going to work. And the difference between a therapist and a coach or consultant is I'm actually going to tell you what you need to do in order to treat that, right? There's a place to just talk about what's going on with you. That's a valuable thing. But if you are ready to actually get results, then you're going to need to get some solutions handed your way, right? Some consulting coming to you where you can go, okay, I get it. I had to do a specific things in order to overcome this imposter syndrome, this feeling of like, who the hell are you to do what you're doing? Who the hell are you to write books? Who the hell are you to get on a Teaching Tuesday and give it comes up for everybody in the world. But if you grew up with these issues that I'm talking about, you have a double dose, honey. You have it worse than anybody else does because it comes up for you all the time. And if you don't get under there and heal that specific thing with strategic things to do to move forward, likely this will haunt you for the rest of your life. And sadly to say, you will not pull the trigger on your dreams. You will not realize your full potential. And that's the saddest thing of all. Like the definition of hell is meeting the person you could have been, because you're still listening to somebody else's voice. You're still listening to that. You can't, who the hell do you think you are from decades ago? And it's time to train a new voice. It's time to call upon a new voice. This is a very special population I work with, very special people. And the results, most of them are highly achieving people. They've accomplished a lot, except for that one thing that matters most to them, right? I don't know what that is for you, but for some of my clients, it's like they have everything else except they can't quite pull the trigger on that big dream they have, or they can't quite get in the relationship for them, So I really want to help you have it all. You know, the lie is that you can't, that you have to settle or sacrifice or just have this thing because that's all that's really as good as it's going to get for you. And that's really a bunch of bullshit. That's not as good as it gets for you. There's so much more for you. But if you grew up in a situation where you had trauma or narcissism or addiction, you actually believe the shoe's going to drop at any minute. This is as good as it gets, so I might as well take what I can. And you live that kind of like misery as your compass. One of my clients put it the best way. She said, you know, Heidi, when you live your whole life as misery as your compass, you can tolerate a lot of stuff and you don't pull the trigger until it's really, really bad. I know exactly what she's talking about. Let me make sure that I've covered everything, where it came from and how it manifests for you. Is this resonating with you guys? Are you understanding where I'm coming from? Does anyone check in with you guys and see if you have any questions? Hi, Katie. I love you too. Thank you. She said, you and Doug saved my life. You know, Katie, that's so awesome to hear you say that. Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. You know, because the work, I feel like when you work with people, like, you know, Katie, we worked with you. Doug and I were like the psychological surgeons or the emotional surgeons, right? Who opened up and did the diagnosis and said, let's look. But you ultimately did the work. You know, you ultimately are responsible for making the changes that you needed to make. Lots of people get insight into their problems. They come for like a Teaching Tuesday and they watch that and they go, yeah, that's enough for me, I'm going to go. But they don't ever really do what they really need to do, the radical work to get in there and really uproot and change their life for better, because they get overwhelmed. It's going to be so much work. But I know if I asked you, Katie, and I said, hey, was that work worth it to you? I know that you would tell me unequivocally, it's the best decision you've ever made in your entire life. 8 months sober and getting married. Yeah, well, that's amazing. Congratulations. I'm really happy to hear that. You guys are a beautiful couple and I'm super proud of you. So are there any other questions? Look, you can work with me a couple different ways if you're ready to get to the root. And I'm not apologetic for, you know, telling you how you can work with me. I want you to change your life, okay? I'm not shy about saying, I know that I can help you get to the other side to achieve your goals and accomplish what you want, because I have people like Katie. I have people that I've worked with that literally their entire lives are transformed. So I'm extremely confident in what I can help you do, but you have to make that decision. Nobody can make the decision for you but you. There are a couple ways we can work together. Some people are still confused about how I can help you. Let me tell you. One of the most cost-effective ways is in my online Flow Tribe. It's an online coaching circle. We meet every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're interested in that, there's an application process. Or you can work with me one-on-one, and we can work together over a period of time to really transform your unique issues, your unique challenges. And I enjoy doing both of those things, and I'm available for both of those things. All right, guys. So if there's nothing else, I'm going to head out. Actually, no, wait, don't go. I have one more thing. Let's play a game called Are You My Soulmate? Okay, I did this with my client the other day. Why was she here? I know you're already my soulmate because you're here and you're watching this, and I love you. And yes, we're soulmates. Okay, we're like family, tribe. But this is like tribe 2.0. If you can answer where this shirt is from, then you are absolutely my next level soulmate. All right? Who knows where this is from? Who knows? Who knows what this is? Don't Google it. Stop it. Don't open up another tab right now and Google this. I know that's what you're doing. Where is this from? Anybody know? I'm waiting. Nobody knows where this is from. This, oh Captain, my captain, is Welton Academy and Dead Poet Society. This was the school that everybody was at where they weren't living their dreams because they were living the dreams of everybody else and their families. One of my favorite movies of all time in the world. And if you knew that, tell me, and then I will send you a message and we can love on each other and know we're soulmates. That movie is kind of the ultimate example of like not feeling like enough to go after your dreams and kind of in the face of that other voice that's saying to you, you don't deserve it, you're not good enough, we want you to play it safe. And those are other people's fears, right, that we take on. And this movie is like my soulmate movie, right? This is like calling forth in you the greatness that resides in you from seeing things from a different perspective, a different vantage point, stand up on the desk and see things new and fresh. And that's what I like to do with my clients is help you stand on the freaking desk and see see things from a brand new perspective, a perspective you have never seen before, to totally shift your life, and everything changes as a result of that. All right. I love you so much. Send me a message if you really are serious about changing your life. All right. I love you. I'll see you next Tuesday.